Welcome to the heart of England for the inaugural Bupa Great Birmingham Run. 15,000 people have entered this half marathon, and at the head of the pack we have the greatest of them all, as Ethiopia's ageless emperor Haile Gebrselassie graces the elite field for the third race in October's Great Run series. Your commentary team are John Rawling and Stuart Story.
Well, here come the women moving forward towards the start line. This is likely to be a duel between two British elite runners. Louise Damon, already she's got the Olympic qualifying time. She referred to this as a rust buster. She's run 2 hours 30 minutes for the marathon. She's the Great North 10 kilometres champion as well. And Gemma Steele, and behind them are the men's runners. There is Louise Damon, introduced to the crowd. Winchester Harriers, and here come the men's. A great moment for all these runners to be able to say, yep, I've run against Haile Gebrselassie.
Well, John Kelly, the Commonwealth Marathon champion, we've seen him before this season in the Great North Run. He'll be joined by Jose Manuel Martinez of Spain. We've seen him too. He ran recently, and a former European 10,000 metre champion. He's good on the roads too, and of course a man who needs little introduction, the man they call the Emperor, Haile Gebrselassie, multi-world record holder, an ambassador not only for Ethiopia but for world sport. A great man, of course, whose reputation extends way beyond the world of athletics.
He's an inspiration, Stuart, and always lovely to see the way how he runs with a smile on his face. The Bupa Great Birmingham Run for 2011 is underway, and as we anticipate, Gebrselassie up near the head of the field in third place at the moment as they come down Broad Street for the first time.
It's Hannah, England, overlooking the 15,000 that will emerge, and we've heard they'll all have their own personal stories, and there will be those who will be there for raising funds for the various charities, and I think that's important. There are lots of individual stories, there really are. Well, let's just have a look through the map. From Paradise Road right along Dudley Street, Sherlock Street, down Pershaw Road for 3 or 4 miles there. Bourneville at 5 miles, then they turn back along Pershaw Road. At 8 miles, they'll then turn and loop back and onto Edgbaston Road, and then 10 miles left across Sherlock Street and loop, head right through 11 and 12 miles towards the finish in Broad Street.
Thompson, the early leader.
Paul Thompson has represented Great Britain in the 10,000 metres. The European Juniors in the past, he failed to finish that race, but obviously going out to get himself featured early on in the race, he'll certainly be run down because the rest of those athletes know exactly what they're doing. The sort of pace we're looking at is I would think around about the hour for the men, and that means that we're running at around about 4:35 pace, and the women will be running at around about 5:20, 21, 22. And then
there's the leaders of the women's race. And you see there the distinctive blonde hair of Gemma Steele. She's the UK half marathon champion. On the left-hand side of your picture, there's Louise Damon, who's been a little bit inexperienced in her preparations for marathon. She says she's going into new territory, really. She doesn't quite know how much she's going to have in her legs for this race today. Essa Rashid of Qatar now leading the way. Formerly Daniel Kipkoskei changed nationality in 2004, and he's had a string of medals, gold medals in Asian Games over 10,000 metres and 5,000 metres, and is now establishing himself as a really quality runner out on the road. Still only 24 years old. Buramdani just tucked in with a Nani right behind Haile Gebrselassie. Seems to have been commentating on him forever, Stuart.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Gemma Steele, of course, she has the edge in terms of basic speed, I would think, at the moment, and you can't offer that as a criticism against Louise Damon, because she is in heavy training indeed. She says taking that sabbatical, she is really going to make use of it and to train very hard and to make her way towards another marathon. But really, she's an ungainly runner in a sense compared with Gemma Steele. looks a little bit easier, doesn't she? But those two, the two leading women at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say that Gemma Steele has a much more relaxed and smooth, rhythmic running style. Louise Damon, well, it looks on the face of it, there she is on the left-hand side of the picture, just hugging the curb. Looks as though she finds it a harder exercise, but sometimes appearances can be deceptive. A wonderful overhead shot of Edgbaston Cricket Club. The Test cricket ground, they've spent some £32 million in bringing that up to the standard of being one of the finest arenas in the country. And we have a new leader. I think you'll recognise him. Now hitting the front, coming past Essa Rached, is Haile Gebrselassie in front for the first time with 15.5 minutes completed.
Well, certainly we've mentioned the fact that he's a great ambassador. Of course, he is. He's born one of 10 children, incidentally, in a cellar in the Asi province in Ethiopia. He grew up on a farm. He used to run 10 kilometers to school, and he says he hunches his arm a little bit because that's how he used to carry his books all those years ago. He ran 10 kilometers to school, he ran 10 kilometers back again, and of course the rest is history. And incidentally, he's just returned from Soweto in South Africa. He's been doing some charity work for the Nelson Mandela Foundation, as well as picking up the award recently in this, it's called the Prince of Asturias Award. It's an award much celebrated in the Spanish countries, and recognised his role as a great ambassador. It's the autonomous Spanish community of Asturias, and he came late to this meet because he picked up that award. Kelly there just dropping a little bit off the back of the leading group at the moment. The man who, I think he was 17th in the Great North Run, if I remember correctly. And
he's had 8 marathon wins and the Commonwealth champion, Kelly, but he's finding the pace at the moment just a little bit too hot. And Haile Gebrselassie had a little look over his shoulder just to see where the pursuers are, and it's 24-year-old Essa Rached of Qatar, formerly Daniel Kipkosgei, who's the man up alongside Haile Gebrselassie. And you must just tell that story about the antecedents, Stuart, about his dad. People said to Haile, could your dad run? Was he a good runner? And well, his answer was?
Well, I got the quote. He said his dad wasn't a runner, but he was quick. I always remember it was very difficult to escape from him when he was angry. And I think that's a very, very good point.
Gemma Steele looks as though she is just starting to accelerate away from Louise Damon a little. I think that gap is starting to increase. And Gemma Steele from the Charnwood Athletics Club, the UK half marathon champion, is now starting to establish a significant lead in this women's race.
Yeah, this is definitely a push on now, because as you can see, that gap has actually lengthened, and it's more now we could call significant. And if she can keep this going, but remember, she is the UK champion. She won that Bristol Marathon, and of course that took to the championship. So still they come through the start. 15,000 in total. And what an October it's been from Bupa Great Runs. There are about 50,000 athletes involved over the Great Run series. And
look at the gap there in the men's race. They are really spreading right out, and the break in front by Gebrselassie and Rached is significant. You look back to the pursuers. There we see Abdurrahim Buramdani, I think, in the green vest on the right-hand side, and also in that group is the Spaniard Martinez, who celebrated his 40th birthday yesterday, and on the left of the picture, Anani, the Moroccan. But it's Gebrselassie and Rached who have really accelerated away, and there's a significant gap between those pursuing three and the Commonwealth champion John Kelly, who must be now something like 150 metres behind these two. And in the women's race, Gemma Steele is looking now as though she is taking a really firm grip. And Louise Damon barely in camera shot. She's right at the back in that pursuing group, way back, as Gemma Steele finds time to have a little chat with Banana Man up there in front.
Well, I tell you, Gemma Steele, when she did the Bristol half marathon, ran 73:32 for this distance. That's her personal best. It was 5.5 minutes than her previous personal best. So that's a big improvement. She said she hadn't done one for a couple of years, and I think you can signal from that she is emerging now as a real threat. She's beaten Paula Radcliffe earlier this year. She certainly has, and I think that there are some big athletes that she's beaten during the course of her build-up this season. Whether she can transfer this to the track, we'll have to wait and see. We'll wait and see. But I tell you what, she did a 15:47.21 5,000 in June, so that's a sort of evidence that she's improved dramatically on the track over 5, and I would think 10 is a better event for her.
I suspect somewhere Paula Radcliffe may be watching this one. They go through now with 5 miles to go. 5 miles completed, rather. 8 miles to go, I beg your pardon. I was going to say, Paula Radcliffe somewhere, I'm sure, will be watching this one. Lovely to see if she could get back to full fitness and have one last great run at the London Olympics. Let's hope so.
Yeah, it would be good to see, wouldn't it? There's Louise Damon. She's sticking with this, certainly she is. And she is an ungainly runner, and she says she comes from a strength background, and you can see that. It's really strong, and she's running a lot of miles at the moment. Although she said in preparation for her debut marathon in London, I said she actually eased down and only trained twice a week rather than 3 times a week in the run-up to the London Marathon. But she's very much a novice in that event. And this young woman, well, we may well see her in the future turn to that event. As I said earlier, Liz McColgan thinks that perhaps that is where she may end up at the end of the day. But she's now starting to move, and it looks as though Banana Man has gone.
She's hardly breathing, is she? She looks so good. No, Banana Man's
there.
there.
Oh, he's there. Oh, gosh, he's still there.